I'm Zac Sweets, and this is Talk Raytown. Welcome back, and we are here with Ashley Muffitt with Square One. Brought us a nice foam dice to remind us what we're talking about, and that is the Mid-Continent Library having resources for entrepreneurs. But before we roll this, there is no prize. I don't know why I said before we roll this, but before we roll any further, there we are. Tell us about how did you find yourself in a role supporting resources and entrepreneurs in the area? Did you wake up one day and say, this is my dream, I want to help people start their business and figure out how to expand?
Definitely not.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
But yes, no, I rolled into entrepreneur support sort of through life and through a lot of different opportunities. I've actually worked for the Greater Kansas City Chamber of Commerce. That was when I started helping small businesses, and it's just grown from there. So I worked for an organization through the Lee Summit Chamber of Commerce, and I still serve on their committee that helps entrepreneurs, and kind of fell in love with the energy behind new business ideas and behind people really pursuing their dreams and their passions. And then sort of figured out that I had this spirit all along. I had started a jewelry business in kindergarten by accident. My dad was a small business owner my whole life, so I kind of figured it out after the fact, and actually found out about Square One at the library through starting my own business in 2019. So I was kind of deciding if I wanted to start an events business or a travel business. I had done work in both areas. Mm-hmm. Both obviously great businesses for a pandemic, but I didn't have a crystal ball, so I didn't know that. But I was looking to figure out which of those businesses would be right for me, which one I would turn a profit in sooner, which one would support my family and the goals I had. And so I turned to the library to do some research and found out about the Square One Small Business Center there that helps people do just that. And so when the opportunity came to run that department and help support those entrepreneurs, I felt like, I'd already been there, done that, and felt the call. So I've been there now about 2 years.
That's awesome. So, but let's back up a little bit. You have a dream that you want to start this business. I think most folks probably think, I could probably start this business. And then there's probably just a myriad of reasons why I never could. I could never get there. I could never make this profitable, or that'd be fun in retirement. What made you go to the library to look for these resources? I mean, I think for politics and policy, right? People think I'm just a bill, so you got to go get a bill introduced and it'll be signed into law, and that's it. I think for some folks probably have maybe the same. I'll raise my hand. Sometimes I'm thinking, you just go start a business and you get moving, right? You find a space. But apparently there's a lot of steps in between there. How did the library become a resource for figuring that out?
Yeah, so our department, Square One, was started in 2015 as a mission enhancement through the library, where we were getting people come in. This was before my time there, but they were getting people come in asking questions, wanting to do market research, wanting to check out books that entrepreneurs had written, or the Dummy series, mm-hmm. How to Start a Business for Dummies, and they were wanting more references and more resources for that. And so they brought on...
Was that what you were looking for when you went?
Yep, absolutely. I was trying to do some research, and the library came to mind for that research. I think the library is a safe place to start a business, because a lot of times if you go to different organizations, or if you go straight to the Missouri website and you want to start filing your paperwork, you might have questions, you might run into things and snags. And so to do a little bit of prep work before you get there, the library is just that safe place to walk in the door, check out a couple books, check out a couple resources, and you haven't spent any money yet. You haven't invested anything other than a little bit of your time to figure out if it's right for you. Just like you said, we don't call it, it is called the entrepreneurial mindset.
Okay.
And so we do have a database that actually helps people kind of take that test, figure out, do I have that entrepreneurial mindset or that entrepreneurial spirit? Do I like to solve problems? How do I handle setbacks? What am I good at? What do I have support doing? and then it kind of walks you through how to like price stuff and, so you can get a little more specific to your business idea. But at first it just tests the entrepreneur. Why do you want to start a business? Why should anybody care about this? Why is it unique? And so there's a lot of really good questions in there. It's called the Gale Business Plan Builder. And it's from Gale Business. There's a lot of databases on our website about that. But the Plan Builder in particular kind of goes over those entrepreneurial questions that figure out if this is even the right move for you to make before you've invested, like I said, a ton of time and money into any licensing or formal training or anything like that. So for me, I wasn't sure, do I want to do that? Do I want to, find different employment? What do I want to do in the pandemic? I had some business ideas rolling around, and so I mentioned the travel and the events, and I had some other things that I wanted to test out. And so I just went to the library and met with Kelly and did some of those databases and figured out that an events business was right. So I actually opened an events business in December 2019 and was able to pivot that into a virtual events business through COVID. So I helped different organizations do virtual awards ceremonies or pinning ceremonies. If you ever attended one of those Zoom happy hours or networking sessions, I'm partially to blame for those. But it just had to kind of pivot my business to figure out how to stay relevant in the changing times. But yeah, so it was through the library and through Square One that I got the confidence after doing that research to go ahead and get started and invest in a website and a business license and all those other steps that you mentioned.
And so I can imagine if you're looking to start a business, there are a million steps that you know about and a million more you don't know. And so Talk Raytown is the Raytown Chamber's website or podcast. I know that there are people that reach out to the chamber and say, hey, I want to start a business. What do we do? And the chamber can offer some direction, but it sounds like Square One really is Square One. Step one, how can we figure out, like you said, what is maybe even the best if we're thinking about a combined concept? Maybe we pull one out and focus on one step. And so what do you think is probably the question that needs to be answered most often when people are starting at Square One and come to Square One for, I mean, we'll talk about the resources. I don't want to skip that, but I'm just trying to think through, if I'm starting a business and I don't know where to go, what is a very common piece of direction that Square One can help guide folks through?
Yeah, so we usually recommend people start with meeting with Kelly Head, our business information librarian. So when Square One started in 2015, it started with people meeting with Kelly and just saying, I have this cuckoo idea, what can you do to help me figure out what my next steps are? And so it's grown from there, and now we have a department of 5 full-time staff, and we also work hand in hand with a lot of our resource support organizations. So Casey SourceLink, we have a resource navigator, a community resource navigator dedicated to library patrons that can help people figure out different resources for their small business, whether they've already started or they're wanting to get started. But Kelly is kind of where we direct people when they are first getting started on an idea or wanting to explore different things about an idea maybe in their business. So if they are a caterer and they want to look at foot traffic data to figure out if it makes sense to open a restaurant, you can book with Kelly and he'll help you kind of walk through that. And so it's used, we use his appointments for existing businesses also, but for those people that have that idea and don't know where to go, we start them out with Kelly. He's great at hearing your idea out and giving you some honest feedback. It never feels judgmental or anything like that, no matter how wild the idea might be. He just does a great job of helping point you in the right direction on where you can do some more research about something to figure out if it's right. But I would say the first question, and it's the first question on that Gale Business Plan Builder entrepreneur profile, is why. Your why is really important. And I encourage entrepreneurs, as someone who's been there, done that, to really resonate with your why. Figure out why you want to start this business, even if it's personal. Mine was to spend more time with my family. But if I would have written down my why somewhere and resonated with that sooner, then I could have made different choices in my business. And so it really is important for you to figure out what your why is. And that way, when you run up against challenges or questions, you're going to have a lot of people with a lot of opinions about your business. Say you start a honey business and someone wants you to start doing jam. Well, if your why was to save bees, jam is really kind of not on that track. And so you can immediately go, that's not within my why, I'm sticking to honey, So it's really important to figure out why you wanted to do the business in the first place. And so that's one of the very first steps that Kelly helps people get to, is that plan builder. And then usually from there, we'll send people to some of our programs. We do a lot of classes throughout the year. We're going to be exploring on-demand classes, which we're really excited about. And so through a grant from the and Marion Kaufman Foundation, we're able to explore providing an on-demand library for entrepreneurs to access our programs any time of the year, not just at the time that we were running it. But those programs are focused in different tracks, from business planning. We have business operations and technology. We have professional development, so working on your leadership skills, your communication skills before you start your business or when you're trying to lead people in your business. We have a company culture track that helps people figure out how to make hires, how to make people happy, how to retain employees in your business. We have a marketing track because we found a lot of business owners bootstrap their own marketing. They think they can do a podcast or a website or something. And so we do our best to try to support people learning more about that. And then we also do a lot of events throughout the year too. So we have a lot of big events and smaller networking events. We're the library, so we have a book club coming. And so we just try to do a lot of different ways that people can get, fellowship with other entrepreneurs that are just starting out, or find out more research about where to go next. And then we also make sure that people know about things like their chambers that they can join to find not only customers, but find support as a small business owner. Having other people do it with you in the trenches, so to speak, is really helpful.
No, I mean, taking some time to look at the website, a couple things that I noticed. First off, the book recommendations for the tracks that you mentioned pretty much line up with the different groupings or categories for the book recommendations. So, like you said, folks probably coming in thinking, let me find starting a business for dummies. Oh yeah, by the way, how do I manage people? And it's all right there, pretty easy to find. The other thing that I saw, and kind of dovetails into my question, because you mentioned folks will come to Kelly and kind of start that process with Kelly if they're just, I got an idea. And also interested to hear about how you all, and you touched on it a bit, support existing entrepreneurs that maybe are like mid-journey, not quite just starting off. But one thing I saw there, talking to your the classes or the events, is there was like a Canva group training essentially. That if I read the description correctly, you're having entrepreneurs come together, show each other what we know about Canva, have somebody there that's a little small-time subject matter expert, but have that community of learning together and figuring that out. I mean, Canva, there's a million different ways you can use that.
Yep.
And I can see if you are trying to bootstrap a little bit, how maybe even getting just a little insight from somebody's like, hey, by the way, I figured this piece out that's really helpful with my business. But how else do you all support entrepreneurs maybe that aren't in the starting process but are in the middle of it?
Yes, so that is our Canva collab. And it's collab for different reasons. Couple different plan words there, because it's collaborative, and it's also a co-working lab. So we're getting together, we're co-working, come work on your Canva project. You can throw headphones on and not even pay any attention, and just get that support to get things done because you've got other people doing them with you. But then we also have it led by Chloe, our social media specialist. And she's like Kelly, she meets with small businesses and actually helps them with their social media and their marketing, and goes over Canva with people in those one-on-one sessions. And so this is sort of like a bigger version of that. It's come together and get help on your Canva from the expert, also from each other. And then usually we do it in tandem, so we'll have a class first kind of introducing you to some Canva concepts. If you don't know Canva at all, you can take that first and then come to the collab a couple weeks later and work on the thing that you learned about. or you can, if you know some of those basics, you can kind of skip that one and just meet us at the collab. And so we're doing some similar events in the upcoming program year. We're going to do a virtual co-working. So back to the virtual events. This one's just going to be an opportunity for entrepreneurs throughout the system to hop on and co-work together. So, you know, maybe play some music, maybe make sure that people know, you know, what you got going on. You can, you know, talk to each other in chat and things like that. And that way you can just come and get some work done and know that we're going to be there supporting you. We also have added drop-in hours. So Kelly had our business information librarian, and Rochelle with Casey SourceLink, our community resource navigator, both have drop-in business hours now where you can, for Kelly, it's the first Saturday of the month, and for Rochelle, it's every Thursday night at our Green Hills location up north. But either of those, you can just drop in with a couple quick questions. You don't have to book the full appointment and wait, you know, the couple weeks to get in. So we've got those drop-in hours coming. And I mentioned the book club that we're starting. So we're actually going to do an interesting focus. Obviously, we're going to focus on business and professional development books for topics, but we have several of our presenters that are local authors. And so we're actually starting with our presenter pool. And the first one that we're doing is called Broken, Changed, and Rearranged by one of our presenters, Liesl Hayes. And she actually owns an HR consulting business. And so she teaches classes in our company culture track about overcoming difficult conversations, bridging the gap, and we have 5 generations in the workplace right now. So how do you handle the different generations? And so she's got a book that we're going to read as a book group, and then she's actually going to be able to come and talk about it as well. So we're starting with a local focus. And then we have things like our entrepreneur story time, which we're bringing back. Obviously, we're the library, so we love stories. And we've partnered with our Story Center in Liberty to bring some different storytelling events and concepts to the table. So we've got storytelling for businesses, which is figuring out how to, you know, tell your brand story, your business story, and your entrepreneur story. And then the entrepreneur story time, we're doing our first one with Luke Skippy Harbor, who's a local performer, and he is going to be talking about how he turned his passion for performance into a business, and it's his full-time career now. So we're doing that at our Colburn Road location in Lee Summit, where people can come together and learn more about his story, and then we're doing that as a series. So we're going to do several of those throughout the year, where you can come and hear from different entrepreneurs in our community that maybe you have heard of, maybe you haven't, you know. And so we're working with different entrepreneurs and different creatives to figure out how we can tell that story so you can get inspired to start your business or start your creative journey.
Yeah, and so this entrepreneur story time with Skippy Harbor is going to be September the 18th at 6 p.m. at the Colburn Road location. Yep. And one thing, can I just, quick aside, all of this incredible programming is for anyone who is coming into the library, and so the library is throughout the region. And so I know we're on Talk Raytown, and I want to keep it local to Raytown, but I heard you say something interesting before we started talking, which is that the territory is the size of which state?
Rhode Island.
That is incredible to think about the amount of people that this program is available to just, again, start at square one. So that's a fun fact. If we have a little quiz at the end, we'll make sure to throw that in there. But what is that? I imagine that the needs of entrepreneurs from one end of Rhode Island to the other are probably the same.
You know, they're unique. We have our service area for the library, for Mid-Continent Public Library, is all of Platte County, all of Clay County, and all of Jackson County. And that's the size of Rhode Island, so just ask the mileage on my car. We have 34 branches spread across those 3 counties, and I try to make it to all of them, so I do a lot of driving. But Square One is a little bit unique because we're partially funded through the Kauffman Foundation, who actually has expanded their service area is even larger. So we're able to help everybody within a 9-county region here whether that be with the one-on-ones. Kelly meets virtually, so we do have one-on-ones of people that are in other states that are thinking about relocating to the area. And so and then a lot of our on-demand programming is going to be available for anybody. And the cool thing about the libraries in our region is they practice something what's called a reciprocal agreement. And so if you live outside of that Rhode Island service area, you can actually still access all of the library's resources, including our databases and our appointments, through a reciprocal agreement through your library system. Okay. So if you're on the Kansas side and you're at a Johnson County library, you can use your Johnson County card to get a Mid-Continent card and access all our services, or Kansas City Public, and that's throughout all the counties in the region. And one cool thing, side note for the citizens of Raytown, is as you are likely a Mid-Continent Public Library card holder, you can use your MCPL card to get a Johnson County card or a KC Public card or one of the other counties' cards. And some of those systems are doing some really cool things that you can access through that reciprocal agreement. So what comes to mind is Johnson County actually has a makerspace that Black and Beach has funded, where you can go and play with 3D printers, you can try out a commercial sewing machines and a lathe and all of this cool equipment that small businesses can use to kind of DIY still. And you can use all those services as a Missouri resident using your Mid-Continent card to access Johnson County.
That's fantastic. Mm-hmm. That's, I didn't see all that on the website whenever I was looking through, but I didn't know what I would be looking for. And I think that's probably what entrepreneurs will be coming to you all and saying, I had no idea.
We get a lot of that.
I had no idea this was here, but maybe not even know to ask, can I DIY somewhere? Do you all know how that can happen? Mm-hmm. So that's a really incredible piece of all of this that I think probably happens quite often to folks. They're like, oh, this is great. Because I'm not going to lie, I'm not looking to start a business anytime soon, but I'm in the Kansas City Public Library space, and I was like, but so I can't get to that? But the answer is yes, I can if I live in another kind of area covered by another library. Yep,
absolutely. Yeah. The reciprocal information's buried somewhere on the website, I'm sure, but that's part of my job for Square One, is going around and making sure people know about all those resources. So we definitely,
which, by the way, thank you for saying yes. I saw the email. I mean, that's how you ended up here. Mm-hmm. But I saw the email exchange to get you to come on the pod, and I think the subject said, Talk Raytown podcast guest, ? So thank you for saying yes and coming to share. I'm sure that the Chamber will have Square One at a future event as well to talk to membership. I'm sorry I interrupted your thought, but I just really do appreciate making yourself available to this is kind of the perfect place to talk about Square One.
It is. And I will hop on my soapbox anytime about it. So I appreciate you guys letting me come out to talk about it. I'm happy to come to, Chamber. We've done Rotary lunches. We've done all kinds of different things to get in front of community members and small business owners to talk about everything that the library is doing. We're so much more than books. And so it's definitely, with the only thought I was going to finish was with the library systems in your area, as well as the 240 support organizations that help small businesses. It's a rising tide lifts all boats kind of mentality. So with those ESOs, we call them entrepreneur support organizations, that's Casey Sorsling's job, is managing all 240 of us. And we do a really good job of promoting one another, each other to each other. So if someone comes in and says, I want to start a food business in Independence, I make sure they know about the Innovation Center through the Independence School District. If someone says, I want to start a food business in Kansas City, we might promote our Culinary Center, which is in off Green Hills in North Kansas City. So, we just make sure that everybody knows about each other, that you know about your local chambers, that you know about the different opportunities that are available to you because of being a chamber member, and that we make sure that people know about things like SCORE and the Small Business Development Council, the different mentorship programs that are available for small businesses. Mentorship's really important for when you're starting out and getting that confidence going. So, we definitely, rising tide lifts all boats, and make sure that everybody knows as much as they can about those other resources.
Yeah, and try to like become a central point for finding the information. I just clicking around, I found all the cities that that are in your all's area. That I mean, we can go to. I clicked Raytowns to see how to start a business in Raytown, and Raytown has that information available. But if I'm trying to start a business in Raytown, Lee Summit, if I'm trying to start like 3 in different places, I know where to go to find a lot of this information in one spot.
Yep.
So it helps with the navigation and trying to figure out what is going on, how can I get going. So we've talked about coming in at square one and who do we talk to. We talked about programming and ways that somebody can start in their business or continuing to grow their business can grow and learn. I think one part of, I'm told, again, I don't have a business that I started, but I'm told part of it is being able to pitch and tell people, be that an investor or maybe even just somebody you're trying to sell your product to, why, business X, Y, or Z that I'm starting. And my understanding is that there's something really cool happening that Square One is putting on with the pitch competition. And it's the pitch showcase. I want to make sure I say that correctly. But tell me a little bit more. I know we're already kind of in the middle of that process, but there's more events to come.
Yes. So thank you so much for bringing that up, because that kind of goes back to what I was talking about with the storytelling for businesses. We wanted to help people tell their story, whether that be to, like you said, to investors, or even just tell your mom. Try to explain to your mom what you're doing, and get her on your side. So we have a series coming up that leads up to the mouthful there, which is the Square One Small Business Pitch Competition and Showcase. And that is in September. That's on September 25th. And that is going to be the culmination of some lead-up events that we're doing. That's going to be perfecting your pitch, where you can learn how to actually pitch your business and build a slide deck, which is a deck of PowerPoint-type slides that kind of explain your unique value proposition, why you're starting this business. It's explaining to people what your plan is, how you're going to make money as a business, or how you're going to find funding, and then what impact that's going to have on the community. And so there is a little bit of a recipe. If you've ever seen a show like Shark Tank or something like that, there's a little bit of a recipe that goes into building a good pitch. And so we have a class coming up for that, and then we have a class where we're going to get together and practice the pitch, and you'll actually get to give the pitch to a couple of experts and get some feedback on that. And then we're doing another event that is more tailored to the showcase piece of our September event, which is how to rock your vendor booth. So if you are an entrepreneur starting out and maybe you don't have a physical location yet, and so you're doing a lot of pop-up events, farmers markets, different entrepreneur events like Global Entrepreneurship Week, which is in November every year. So if you're doing different things like that, where you're going to have a table that you want to encourage people to come and interact with your product, your brand, something like that, we are actually having Strawberry Swing out, which I'm super excited about, to teach that class, that pop-up class. And then that all culminates to our showcase, which is on the 25th of September in Liberty at our Woodneath Auditorium, which is, I can't pick one branch to be partial to because they'll all get mad at me, but it is a very beautiful branch if you haven't had a chance to go visit it. And so that is going to be starting at 4 o'clock. We're going to do a showcase where you can shop some of those new vendors and try out some of their products, learn more about them, and then watch our 6 finalists pitch off in front of expert judges who are going to ask their questions. And then we will announce the winner. We're doing a $5,000 for first place, a $3,000 for second place, and then $1,000 for crowd favorites. So actually you as an audience member get to pick your favorite, and that can either go towards one of those first or second place winners, or can be an additional winner to receive that $1,000. And that whole event, including a lot of our events that are leading up to it, is funded through the Kauffman Foundation grant.
That's great. I feel like every time I hear something positive and encouraging in the community, Kauffman's helping to support it. So this is one of those things. And so where can I go if I'm listening to the pod and I I want to find more information about the showcase. I want to maybe plug into some of those the events, and or maybe even find some of these resources that we've been talking about. Where can I find that? Do I just go to TikTok or?
You could try that. We're not super active on that one. We do have a social media presence on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And so, you can give Square One a search there. But the website that I try to direct people to is Mid-Continent website, which is my MCPL, midcontinentpubliclibrary.org. And then once there, you can, if you want to get technical, it's /square-1. But once you're on the Mid-Continent page, or if you just give Mid-Continent Public Library a quick Google and or Bing or whatever, and select on that, then once you're there, it'll have our libraries, and you can click down and you'll see Square One right there. That's where you'll also find information about our Culinary Center, our Story Center, which I mentioned, our Midwest Genealogy Center, if you want help doing your genealogy research, and then all of our branches, hours, locations, a bunch of our services are listed there. But if you go to that Our Libraries tab and take you to Square One, then Square One is pretty well organized. Over on the left, you've got where you can book with a specialist. So you've got Kelly you can book with to talk about your business plan. You've got Chloe you can book with to talk about your social media. And then you have Nita you can book with to talk about your professional development. So she is an interesting resource for entrepreneurs to leverage that's actually geared more for just the general professional. So as someone who's maybe not going to start a business anytime soon, you can still get specialist support. And then entrepreneurs can utilize her services as well. And so she helps people with goal setting, career planning, skills assessments, all kinds of good professional development stuff there. And so you can book with any of those specialists. You can learn more about our programs by clicking on the Programs tab. And we'll also have, or it already does, but that is where it also has a breakout for the pitch information. So it's got all the pitch information on one page. And then that Resources tab will also take you to the databases. I usually recommend people go on, book an appointment with Kelly, book an appointment with Chloe like a month later, and then play in the resources. And then that way when your appointment with Kelly comes up or your appointment with Chloe comes up, you've already kind of played around with what we have and you have some questions.
Oh, yeah, that sounds great. I have some questions about TikTok, but I'll save that for after
That'd
the
be
show.
Chloe, yeah.
Oh, okay. But finally, I'm going to put you in the hot seat. This is the final question of the pod.
Oh, okay.
When did we start calling it slide decks? Why aren't they PowerPoints anymore? Can anybody answer that? No one can answer that for me.
I don't know. Slides do sound more fun.
Don't they?
Yeah, maybe. No dogging on PowerPoint, but I use Canva half the time for that stuff too.
Okay.
So I think just as more programs open up to that capability, maybe it's becoming less of a branded thing. It's not like Kleenex, where...
That's probably what I'm thinking of. It's the brand name, not the actual product. Well, now that we have figured that out, we've asked all the questions that we could. And, next time we see you, Ashley, we'll have even more. But I do look forward to kind of hearing more about what Square One is accomplishing, and really hope that everybody makes it to the showcase. And one more time, what's the website that we can find all this information real quick?
Yep, mymcpl.org.
mymcpl.org. Ashley Muffitt, the director of Square One. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this has been fun. I'm Zac Sweets, and we will see you next time. And don't forget, if you've missed our previous episodes, get caught up. So make sure to like, subscribe, tell your friends, and we'll see you next time.